You know, they say to stop a thief, you gotta think like one. And that is absolutely the fundamental truth of cybersecurity. It's not just about building stronger walls. It's about really understanding the person on the other side who's looking for the cracks. So today, using the ultimate Kali Linux penetration testing guide as our map, we're gonna step into their world.
And that brings us to this central paradox. We have this picture in our heads of hackers as these digital phantoms from a sci-fi movie, right? Using impossibly complex tools, these criminal masterminds orchestrating every move. But what if the reality is something way simpler, and honestly, a lot more common?
And this slide really lays that gap out in plain sight. For a second, just forget all those crazy zero-day exploits you see in the movies. The truth is, the vast majority of successful breaches prey on the super mundane stuff. Security patches we totally forgot to apply, a password we've been using for a decade, or a really convincing fake email that just happens to land at exactly the right time.
Okay, so this reality leads us to what is maybe the single most important concept to grasp, the attacker's mindset. It's not about being clever or finding the most complex way in. Nope, it's about finding the easiest way in. And that's where this idea of hack value comes into play. You have to see it from their perspective. An attacker is always making a calculation. How much time and effort is this going to take? What's my risk of getting caught? And the big one, what's the payoff? At the end of the day, it's a business decision, because sometimes that unlocked side door leads right to the vault.
All right, so let's say a target's been chosen. What's the first move? Well, the very first step, whether it's a real attack or an ethical test, is always the same: reconnaissance, or, just gathering information.
Now this is where it gets really interesting. You've got two main flavors here. Passive recon is kind of like watching a building from across the street. You're just collecting publicly available info without ever touching the target. Active recon, on the other hand, that's you walking right up and rattling the doorknob. You're directly interacting with their systems, which, yeah, it reveals more, but it also really cranks up your chance of being spotted. And a massive part of that passive recon is something called OSINT, or Open Source Intelligence. And you would be staggered by how much valuable info is just sitting out there in the open for anyone to find. We're talking social media profiles, news articles, even company job postings, which can flat out tell you the exact software a company's using. It's like we all leave this digital paper trail.
So how do attackers put all this together? Is it just chaos? No way. They follow a playbook, a framework called the cyber kill chain. Just think of it like a 7-step blueprint for a heist, all the way from casing the joint, that's your reconnaissance, to the final getaway. Ethical hackers use this exact same map to find all the weak points at every single stage.
Okay, so our attacker has done their homework. They've sized up the target. Now it's go time. So how do they actually get inside?
And honestly, so often, the way in comes right back to the path of least resistance, which is us. I mean, it's just human nature, right? We pick passwords we can remember, and we reuse them everywhere because it's easy. Attackers are absolutely counting on this. If just one service you use gets breached, you better believe they're going to use that same password to try and unlock your entire digital life.
But attackers also have these really clever tricks that don't even require cracking the password at all. Take this pass the hash attack. They steal the scrambled, stored version of your password, the hash, from one machine. Then they just use that hash to log into other machines on the network. It's basically like using a stolen keycard. You don't need to know the combination. You just swipe and you're in. So, beyond just trying to guess passwords, attackers are always looking for these unlocked digital doors that businesses leave open for convenience. Services like SMB for file sharing became infamous with ransomware like WannaCry, while RDP, the tool millions of us use to work from home, is constantly getting hammered by bots trying to guess their way in.
And of course, wireless networks are a huge target. The evil twin attack? It is so deceptive. An attacker just sets up a fake Wi-Fi hotspot with a name that looks totally legit. Your device connects automatically, and boom, all your internet traffic is flowing right through their laptop, where they can see and grab everything.
Okay, let's talk web apps. One of the absolute classics is SQL injection. I mean, this is the attacker's mindset in a nutshell. Why bother picking the lock on the front door if you can just trick the person inside into handing you the keys? By slipping little database commands into a search bar, an attacker can get the application to just dump all of its secrets.
Here's another classic web attack, and this one actually turns a website against its own users. It's called cross-site scripting, or XSS for short. An attacker plants a malicious script on a site you trust, and when you visit, your own browser becomes the weapon,
running their code to steal your login info or redirect you somewhere nasty.
So you see the pattern here, right? The crucial point is this. Attackers don't just hack technology, they hack people. Social engineering works because it completely bypasses all the fancy tech defenses by exploiting our basic human psychology, our sense of trust, or urgency, or fear. A really convincing email from IT support can be way more effective than the most advanced exploit in the world.
So, what happens once they're in, getting that first foothold? That's just the beginning. Now the real game starts, expanding their control and finding what they came for.
This whole process is called lateral movement, and the island hopping analogy is perfect. That first compromised machine, that's their beachhead. From there, they pivot, using that machine as a launchpad to attack deeper, more valuable targets inside the network that they could never have reached from the outside.
But, getting in is only half the battle. Attackers need to stay in. They need to establish what's called persistence. They do this by planting digital tripwires, backdoors, hidden accounts, anything that makes sure they can get back in, even if that original door gets locked again.
Now, in most corporate networks, there is one ultimate prize, one holy grail, Active Directory. And why is that? Because AD is basically the brain of the entire network. It controls all the user accounts, permissions, and access. If you compromise AD, you pretty much own the whole kingdom. It's the jackpot.
Okay, we've talked a lot about the dark side, all these offensive techniques. But here's the flip side. Every single thing we've discussed is used by ethical hackers for one reason: defense. To find the weaknesses before the bad guys do. And they have to operate under a very, very strict code of conduct.
This whole profession really rests on 3 ironclad pillars. First, scope, so you know exactly where the battle lines are drawn. Second, written permission. This is the big one, the get-out-of-jail-free card that makes this whole thing legal. And third, reporting. Because hey, finding a problem is useless if you don't explain how to fix it, right?
And I really, really can't stress this enough. That second pillar, that written permission, it is everything. Without that signed piece of paper, from a legal point of view, what an ethical hacker does is exactly the same as a criminal attack. It is the bright, shining line that separates a security pro from a felon.
Which kind of leaves us with a final thought to chew on, right? We've seen how attackers exploit everything from complex software flaws to simple human nature. So, in this constant cat and mouse game, is perfect security even achievable? Or is it really about a continuous, never-ending process of managing risk? Something to think about.